Good evening. Welcome to the Diablo 3 podcast. I am your gravelly-voiced host, Flux. I'm joined on the show tonight by Nerdwords.
Hello.
And by Empty One.
Hey, what's up?
As you can probably hear from my horrible voice, I am something of a sore throat going on, so I will be trying to get out of the way and let the guests do most of the talking for the benefit of my throat and your ears. I was looking at you guys, and we were making fun of your name last time, Nerdwords. It was saying we were calling it like geek language or something.
Yeah.
So I was thinking if you guys teamed up and formed your own podcast like certain other traders, former podcast hosts, guests have done, you guys really are kind of out of luck for a name, because you'd either be Empty Words or Nerd One.
Empty Words is pretty good, though. That's kind of like what we get from the developers. No, I'm kidding.
That's actually kind of describes every podcast on the internet.
That's a good point. What did we get accomplished?
So I guess you could say, here's Empty Words about Diablo 3. It's like, oh wait, that's this show. But yeah, so we did 2 weeks ago before everyone went on halls and vacays. Did you go on halls and vacays, guys?
I did.
No.
I'm sorry.
You're not permitted to because you're in retail.
Yeah. Yeah, the struggle.
Anyway, the rest of us went on halls and vacay. I was down in San Diego visiting relatives, and it was, sunny and like 68 degrees. I was walking on the beach every day, etc. Get back here and it's snowing today because, God hates me. Anyway. So yeah, we didn't do a podcast last weekend, and on the previous show we covered the year in review 2015 from January through June, and we saved the last 6 months for now, and we're going to run over those in a minute. But first up, we're going to talk a little bit about Season 4 ending, Season 5 beginning, and some New Year's resolutions. And I really need to stop talking now. So you take it away, Nerdwords. How was the end of the season? Did you make a ladder run? Did other people make ladder runs? Were there surprising news developments? Etc.
Nah, not really. I did make a run at the ladder again. I didn't get much higher. I'm doing actually the seasonal rollover now, and then I kind of just took a step back. We have so much time between the seasons, which is so nice to just chill and kind of relax before we have to worry about getting into the new one. So I actually have taken the time to sit down and relax and play some console games and do some other stuff. And now I'm going in and fixing my stash as we speak, and it's not too bad. I've gotten it down to a system. I feel like now I've done it so many times, but it's still a struggle. I'm ready for those new stats.
You still only got one damn class, right?
Yeah, I'm still.
Yeah, how struggly can it be with just wizards?
You'd be surprised how much stuff I hoard. I hoard so many different, here's a Talrasha set, but here's a more, lightning-based Talrasha set, or here's a more, there's so many different.
I'm right there with you, unfortunately. The elemental specialties on items definitely are causing an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good issue, though. It's a good issue.
I think they should have limited the amount of items that had the elemental rolls on them, so you could still specialize, but not have to have 4 bracers and four freaking amulets and 4 copies of the ring and everything. I think that's just a little bit too much.
Yeah, I can see that, but we'll get more stash tabs soon, so hopefully it'll be better. But yeah, no, other than that, it's been pretty much all quiet. Still don't know when the patch is going to hit. It's probably going to hit a couple days before the new season rolls over. Just to give us a little bit of time in it before we start the new characters. But it went well, though. I'm just getting it all switched over now. How about you, Empty One?
It was pretty easy to roll my stuff over. I just played Crusader, played a hardcore Crusader through the season. So I was able to get my stuff done the next day. I kind of did the opposite thing of you, though. I played really heavy the first 2-3 weeks, and then I took a break and played Fallout 4, and then I returned and played the last 2 weeks, essentially, of it. Which also coincided with my Christmas break, so that was kind of nice.
Yeah, right. It worked out perfect.
Yeah, it was funny. You mentioned how long the break is between the seasons. Just doing the prep for this show, I think it was in September. We'll get there in a minute. But the last season, it ended on the 23rd, and the next one started on the 28th. So it was 4.5 day break, basically 5 days at most.
Yeah.
And this one's like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, not literally, but what is it? It's like
2 weeks.
15.
Yeah, it'll start back on the 15th, so we'll have about 2 weeks to just chill. We'll have like a week and a half where we'll just hang out, and then we'll get the patch, play it for like a day or two, and then we'll have the rollover.
How exciting would that be, though, to get it on Tuesday? I don't know what'll happen, but
I'm sitting here staring at my inventory like, why don't I have it now? I don't even want to look at this right now. It's so close. It's just like I just want to log off. It's ridiculous. I need it.
Yeah, that's a bad feeling when you're like, all this work I'm doing right now, and it would just be so nice to have those access to those new features.
Yeah, we'll have it soon.
Did any of the devs say anything about why there's a 2-week break this time? Just because they're on vacation or what?
That would be my guess.
Because the other ones have all been about a week or less, right?
Yeah, I mean they've all been the same time frame. This is the first one. It's been like a little bit longer, and yeah, it could be the holidays, could be their vacation, could be I mean, most people have been asking for this for a while too. I mean, like, especially a lot of the hardcore people that, streamers, stuff like that play all the time. Like, it's nice to have a little bit of time, and it's not. I mean, it's what, 2 weeks? It's nothing really in development time. It gives them a little more time to stretch things out too. So.
I like when you said streamers that play all the time. I did air quotes when you said play.
play.
Well, they play 8 hours a day. There's just something else playing for them the rest of the time.
Their machine's active all day, so it's things. Yes, of course. That'll be obviously that's part of the news roundup.
I assumed that was going to come up in this one, yeah.
So, what are you guys planning on? Obviously, you're eager for season 5 because you want new features. Are you going to go? Are you going to both be seasoning right from first night?
Yes. Yeah, we went over it a little bit last episode. So, how about you, Empty One?
Yeah, I'm excited for it. They actually scheduled the start of the season for a 3-day weekend for those of us that get like the federal holidays off. So that's kind of nice. I'll basically play all weekend, and then I'll be back to work and back to like if I'm lucky an hour a night. So we'll see as much as I can get accomplished in the course of 3 days. I will get accomplished, and then hopefully no big other title will come out to distract me during the middle of the season.
Oh, it'll happen.
You're right. It probably will.
It depends. Are you looking forward to the Division at all?
No, I was once upon a time, but I think it's gonna be a little bit too simplified. I played Destiny way longer than it deserved. I think I'm finally free of that game now, but I think Division's gonna wind up being just too basic as well. I mean, fun to play in the short term, but I'm one of those people that loves games that you can put 600 hours into.
Did you play the alpha?
No.
You need to rethink everything you just said. I've played it. I got to play it. No, you're way off. Trust me. Just when that game comes out, give it a chance. It'll be cool. But that's about the only thing that's going to slow me down. That's not till March, though. So that's still plenty of time in the season, and then plenty of time to get to the end of the season, too. So, plus, I always play other games while I play Diablo. I just play Diablo more than every other game. It's the only game I log into almost every day. Whereas other games, I'll go a while without playing and jump back in.
I'm kind of the exact opposite. I just kind of play one game at a time. Usually, most days I don't have enough time to even, start up 2 different things or whatever. So it's like, if I'm going to get on, I want to play as mindlessly as possible for a couple of hours if I'm lucky, and then, then the next day I do the exact same thing again.
Yeah.
Empty One, have you been PTRing? Do you know have you tried out the new patch, or it's going to be all new to you when it goes live?
It won't be new to me. I've been following a lot of commentators. Even when I'm not actively playing this game, I still follow it because it is probably my biggest passion. I've mentioned another game before in the past, Sacred 2, that I was a huge fan of, and it was kind of my in-between Diablo 2 and Diablo 3 game that completely, had my focus on it. And I just kind of go off and on playing, but I'm always trying to keep up with the community and look at the changes they're making to the game.
So are you both pretty satisfied with all the changes coming up in the patch on Season 5? Obviously, there's a lot of new content and set dungeons and lots of other things.
Yeah, no, I'm super stoked. We talked a little bit about it last episode, but yeah, the whole new patch, everything it's going to add is going to really change everything for the game for me. Playing it a little bit on PTR, it felt like, mind you, I didn't have a lot of time because of retail season and stuff, but the little bit of time I did have to jump in, it was just like, there's so much to do right now. I need to wait. So I'm really excited for the season to roll over just so I can dive in and really test stuff out and figure out how everything's going to shift once the game goes live.
Yeah, I'm excited for the extra features as well. I'm really excited for the Legacy of Nightmares set, the non-set set, because I've always been a fan of the idea of making my own build, just completely making my own build. And that's never been rewarded in this game, unfortunately. And it still won't really be with Legacy of Nightmares. You'll still be below whatever the best build is. But, because they can't let that, anything you want to put together be the best, obviously.
Can you remind our listeners what those rings do?
Yeah. So they're a pre-existing set already in the game, Wailing Host and Litany of the Undaunted. You can get them right now, and their effects will change over when the patch hits. But what they're going to do is they're going to allow you to get a damage increase and a damage resistance buff for every ancient piece of gear that you have equipped, as long as you have no other set bonuses. So the set bonus itself increases your damage by 100% as of the last thing Wyatt Cheng said, per ancient item you have, and increases your damage resistance, I believe, by 4% per. But I might have to double-check that one.
They've iterated on it so many times, I'm not even sure on the numbers.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that. That's around the number, though.
You're
so essentially, you're going to be able to get around
100%.
60% damage reduction off of having a full set of ancient items, which is around...
You're not 100% sure, but the set is 100%.
Yeah, the set is...
Remember when it was 800% the first day of the patch?
Yeah, so the damage has changed dramatically down to just being 100% bonus per item. And I think they might have nerfed it a little bit too much. I know I shouldn't say nerfed because, of course, it wasn't in the game like that. And people,
go ahead. Barbarians always say
yeah,
it, so.
People think, 100% per item, that's huge. But the fact of the matter is, it's all multiplicative. And so those are additive 100% per item. And you aren't able to get on top of that the bonus from focus and restraint. So even though it's a larger number starting out, you don't get to multiply that by, 2.25 or whatever for focus and restraint. So it really isn't as powerful as it seems, just looking at those numbers, but it will just take a lot of testing to see where it's at. And I think there will be several builds that use it and are very competitive, but it won't be the thing that just enables any build you want, unfortunately.
Or maybe it won't be the highest, you won't be doing GR80 with it solo or something, but probably it's still going to be better than a lot of other, unless you're super optimized in a 6-piece build.
Right. And
which, of course, everyone is.
Well, and they said, too, that they would rather it underperform now and not be required for... they don't want it to be the best set for every class. They don't even necessarily want it to be better than all the class sets individually, right? But they want it to be competitive, and they want it to be up there. So, obviously, where they had it, it was... every class was using it. Every single class was trying to find a way to fit Legacy of the Nightmares in.
Even if you were running a build that meshed well with the current set, it was still better to use Legacy of Nightmares.
Yeah, and then so they brought it down, and then it made it, obviously less good. And then they're bringing it. Same thing with Focus and Restraint, right? When they revamped Focus and Restraint, it was really good, and it was way crazy. And then they brought it down on PTR. When it went live, it was okay. It wasn't great. And then just as it evolved and then it got the 50% multiplier on both spenders and generators, then it really took off. And that's the same thing that's going to happen with this. It'll come in now. It'll be pretty good for some classes. Then it'll get another retool where they'll change the damage numbers on it, and it'll get better. So it'll probably be next patch or the patch after before it does, but it's going to be a good rig set. And it's going to be at least interesting right now, too.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to allow a lot more experimenting for players, people who are interested in just trying out things in a way that we haven't had since vanilla, where you really could try any skill because there weren't really skill multipliers or anything in the game.
Right.
Speaking of the new patch and the new season, Nerdwords, are you still pretending you might play someone other than a Witcher?
I was actually going to say that later, but yeah, I am.
Is that one of your New Year's resolutions?
That was. There's actually going to be one of them. Was that I really, really think this is going to be the year that the season, but also the year that I actually play a different class. And it's probably going to be Demon Hunter. I'm thinking Demon Hunter.
Okay, we might as well just segue right into the New Year's resolutions, since I asked you guys to think of a couple of those earlier. And so a personal one, obviously these can be real, these can be sarcastic, you can hope to find the skull of Jay Wilson, whatever. But since you just kind of did one, Nerdwords, do you have a personal resolution, empty one?
So I really hope that I will complete my seasonal journey for this next season. I know it's kind of gimmicky or whatever, and who really cares if you have all the portraits, but missing that last portrait is kind of bugging me a lot right now. And I can...
What did you fail to do to get it this time?
I can't run a solo 60 with a hardcore Crusader. There were 40-something people who did, but only 40. And those people had Paragon, 1,200 and stuff. And I don't have the time to commit to get to that Paragon level. So it didn't happen. And that's a little unfortunate because I was... doing the mid-50s solo and doing all right, but I knew by the end of it I wouldn't be able to pull it off. So a little depressing. Lots of people were like, "Well, just I'll power level another character for you, and then I'll gear him for you, and then you can do it on another tune." And I'm like, I don't want to. I did a seasonal journey with a Crusader, and that's who I want to finish it with. And so I'm a little disappointed that they put these tasks in that, have rewards that not all the classes have even a close to equal chance of completing.
You said there were 40 Crusaders. How many were there of other classes?
Most of them were in the 100, 160. The Demon Hunter, I believe, was like around 60. So most of them had 3 times as many or more, and then the Demon Hunter was only a little bit better than the Crusader. And
well, I didn't have time to play this season, so it would have been 61 otherwise.
Oh yeah, well, you really should have been playing, because then you could have been that 61st player. People were like, it'd be so easy, just we'll just power level this barb, and it just didn't sound like fun to me. I play this game for fun, and I'm okay with having goals to accomplish, but time-constrained goals that are quite difficult, I'm not a huge fan of.
So maybe we'll just be like graduating from kindergarten next year. You just get everything for showing up.
I am an educator, so I do deal with a lot of that trophies for everyone mentality, and I believe that a game should reward players for playing, and obviously people who play more should be more rewarded. But I don't think that tasks that are super difficult should have something that or quite difficult. Maybe I shouldn't say super difficult. Quite difficult should have something that is temporary about it. It just bothers me a little bit. It's not the same thing as an item that I would have gotten for going to BlizzCon or something like that. This is an earned item. So I'm also an achievement whore, as I've mentioned before. So I would like to do as much as I can with the game, and so this is a little bothersome.
You knew the risks when you played a Crusader.
You're exactly right, I did. And you look at the buffs they're doing to the Seeker of the Light set, why not just implement those damage increases during the season when they realized, hey, people aren't able to complete this rift without, farming twice as much and playing twice as much as on other classes.
You would take many cheap jokes at his expense, Nerdwords, or should we move on?
No, I don't think so at all. I actually, as much as I played this season, I barely got it, so I understand. I mean, I got 60... I play softcore, so 60 wasn't the problem for me. The problem for me was getting the Torment 10 Rift in under so many minutes, because I didn't realize that it was part of the journey until like way late. And I was like, oh, I should probably be looking at this thing, huh? And it was like 2-3 weeks left before it rolls over, and I was like, man, if I don't get that portrait, I'm gonna be I totally understand, because I was in that same boat. I was kind of scrambling to get it last minute, but I actually I was like worried about it, and then I jumped in. I found a community that was like a bunch of people trying to farm it, because I don't have any real life friends to play with right now. And I got in actually first try with the first group I did it with. I got it, the Torment 10 Rift in under 3 minutes. Then we did it again and got it under 2 minutes for the Speed Demon Conquest, and then I was like, well, YOLO, and signed off. So it was, I got it last minute, but I could totally understand the frustration. And I'm actually kind of with you with that. I'm kind of an achievement whore myself.
So when I edit this podcast, that sentence a minute ago from you, Nerdwords, will end when you say, I don't have any real-life friends. I'll say like a half a second of silence, and you can keep talking.
Oh, please.
And that way it'll become a sad personal commentary instead of a gaming issue.
This is a rare introspective.
Exactly. Speaking of rare introspectives, any other New Year's resolutions for you, Nerdwords?
Well, aside from wanting to play Demon Hunter, really, really bad, I also really want to upgrade my gaming rig. Like, that really doesn't have as much to do with Diablo, but I do it every couple of years, and it's about time. So I got a whole new gaming PC when Diablo 3 released, and I want to get a new setup now. So.
Well, you work in like a gaming store, right?
I mean, ish, but we don't really not the kind of gaming.
But I mean, can't you get some kid to bring in his gaming rig and you give him like $7 and a copy of Fallout 3 for the whole system?
Yeah, that would.
How you guys? Isn't that your economic model?
That would be the joke, yeah.
I've been there too, Nerdwords. I used to work GameStop retail myself, so
yeah,
understand.
So do you have another resolution, MT1?
As far as the game goes, I kind of want to motivate myself. I'm kind of the exact opposite of Nerdwords when it comes to character play. Like, I want to play them all and experience all of the characters. And
unless you have to do that to get GR60, in which case you say hell no.
I didn't want to make another one within the same season. Like, I want one character for my season. I realize one of the conquests for this next season requires me to have two. Which is silly, and I just don't get it, because, like, in my mind, a season means I'm going to focus on this character for 2 or 3 months. But, obviously Blizzard has something else in their mind for what season should be. But anyway, I would like to play a wizard next season. And since I'm trying to complete my seasonal journey this next season, I'm going to even do it on softcore. Because that's the goal that I think Blizzard really had by making these super difficult, challenging ways to get the, get these portrait frames. Man, it'd be so much more relaxing to not feel like my character was going to die, every time I'm running a 50 plus.
Plus you're playing a wizard, so.
Yeah, I mean, I when Vanilla came out, I actually had a channeling wizard build that used Disintegrate and used Blizzard, and it was pretty powerful back in the day. But, that was before they put out sets that required you to play a certain way.
Yeah,
So I'm excited to go back to that channeling and then be able to drop meteors while I'm channeling for free. Just sounds too much fun to miss.
As a representative of the wizard community, Nerdwords, is there still only one acceptable gender of wizards?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I hope not, because I definitely play a male wizard.
Oh, that's awful. That's bad. There is no male wizard. The male wizard is actually not a male wizard.
Just a very butch female wizard?
Yes.
Okay.
They're both actually, they're just different versions of the same couple.
The one thing I don't do, and I do agree with Flux on, is a male demon hunter. I don't get that at all.
Yeah.
At least it's a really cool running animation.
The same one as the female?
I've always felt like the male demon hunter looks like a tormented artist.
He does. He looked
like he really struggled through art college or something.
But he was really good in the new Star Wars movie, though.
Oh, wow. He was good
when he stabbed his dad and stuff.
Oh.
I liked him then.
Yeah, but we don't know who we're talking about here, thankfully. Spoilers.
Of course not. That's why I said dad instead of Chewbacca.
Can you believe Jar Jar stabbed his father, Chewbacca? God.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. It was the ears. I could always tell the similarity.
Oh, God.
Yeah, okay. Do you have any other resolutions of the joking nature or otherwise, like for the developers? Like, do you want, Jay Wilson to come back, or do you think they should resolve to make a goddamn expansion pack this year, or what?
Well, yeah.
Here's my thought on that expansion pack. I'm really scared. I was convinced it was coming this year. I'm really scared it literally just got pushed off because they were putting so many other things out this year. So Blizzard went, well, our profit's going to be at this level this year. We need to move something to next year. And they went, oh, this thing's almost done, but we'll just push it off. So that would be really depressing to find out, but I kind of think that's what happened, because they obviously have a ton of people working on this game. At least they pretend to every time BlizzCon comes around.
I want to see somebody who isn't a familiar face. The thing I like the best about the Diablo team over the years is that there's always new faces popping up that have kind of a fresh perspective and new things to say, new things to do. And they either do or don't have a big team. We don't know, but I know we keep seeing the same faces. I think the coolest part about BlizzCon was all the lightning talks with all the other people that we don't get to see all the time. I want to see some fresh new faces this year. I want to see new CMs and new designers come out that work on the game already that we just haven't met yet, to see their kind of take on what they do and their changes and stuff. I think that'd be cool.
Well, we're getting new CMs already. I mean, we
got called
this year and got. Yeah. I guess we just got one this year.
At least they're getting rid of the old CMs, one or the other. That'll be in the year in review here shortly. My resolution for the year is to stop coughing.
Yeah, I think that's going to be something that happens naturally over a little bit of time.
Well, either that or I die, and either of those would be equally welcome.
And
at this point.
you play hardcore, so if you die, you're kind of screwed.
It's for real.
I cough hardcore. Anyway, you're in the room. We can take some of these other comments on things. Any other final planning ahead thoughts or New Year's resolutions?
One more resolution for the developers. I really hope they really take a look at their statement they keep making of wanting to promote choice in the player base and stop doing things like forcing people into using items. And you can say they don't, but the fact of the matter is if something's going to double your damage for a skill, obviously you have to use that item. The entire driving dynamic to this game's gearing is damage. So they need to do more things that are interesting and less things that are just damage increase. And even the Demon Hunter multi-shot quiver, I'm playing my softcore Demon Hunter right now, trying to farm up the Herodric hamburger. But even that quiver is just ludicrous because it has a special text on it of, it does double attack to enemies that are under this amount of health. But it's still just a damage increase. I mean, I really want different things rather than damage increases that promote choice.
I think you'll be waiting for Diablo 4 in that case. They seem to have set their path for this current game.
I think they make the statement, though, all the time, and I don't think it's too late for them to take a look, especially if we do get an expansion and the level cap is now all of a sudden 80. It's very easy for them to get rid of those damage modifiers that are so boring.
They just all don't work after level 70, and it's like new stuff now.
Oh, yeah, exactly. New gear at
well, I mean, like, that's what they did, last time with, like, Life Leech and stuff.
And I think that was a fine thing for them to do. I think they realized that they had made a lot of mistakes in that first year's gear, and I think there are a decent amount of mistakes here. Problem is they're just kind of still doing them.
Excellent point. Okay, your review?
Sounds good.
The last show went through up through June, so go back and listen to that if you didn't hear it already, because we're not going to cover it again, unless you want to run it over. Can you cover 6 months here in like 30 seconds, Nerfed?
Botting.
What was your biggest takeaway from the first 6 months? Do you remember?
Botting. That's the biggest one.
That's actually the biggest thing in like August. So keep your powder dry.
Oh, so that doesn't count? Okay. Damn.
I think the biggest thing that I remember from the first 6 months is how long ago so many of the changes seemed.
Even though
like we'd read stuff like that was only 8 months ago. It's like that seems like it was like 3 years ago.
Yeah,
it happened a lot of times. I remember.
Yeah, no, it definitely feels like this game's been out a lot longer than it has been.
I think that
first marriage.
I think the first half of the year, as I listened to that podcast and was looking at stuff, it really inspired me in that look at how much work they've done to the game still. Obviously, They're not giving up on it. They're not doing the Diablo 2 thing and just putting a couple of items out every once in a while. Right. They're still supporting the game.
They're putting in work.
Yeah. So that,
of course, Diablo 2 was because the entire team was making Diablo 3, which of course never actually occurred. So they had an excuse at least, but perhaps they're not all making Diablo 4 right now, or we wouldn't be getting all these new contents and patches.
Although we are getting some of the functionality that the pay-to-play people are getting overseas, we're getting now for free. So if there's not more stuff they're adding on later, this might be towards the end. Maybe they're going to start a DLC kind of pattern for this game and like maybe sell the character separately instead of taking all the time of making a new act. It wouldn't make me happy if they did that, but I would buy it.
Spooky music.
Spooky music. Ominous. Ominous tones.
Sounds like a Activision Blizzard move to me, unfortunately.
I could probably do a pretty good vampire voice right now if I have to.
Yeah.
Your doom awaits, young paladin. Okay, anyway. So, July 2015, the biggest news by far, most viewed post was almost 200,000 views, and it was Kanai's Cube hands-on tutorial.
Oh, man.
Game changing.
And all this stuff, and like, we had a pretty obvious pattern last podcast where, whenever there was a new patch coming out or new leaks of a new patch, that was like all the top news items, and that's pretty much the case for the last 6 months as well, of course. The next most viewed post was benefits of Torment 10 7 through 10. Mm-hmm. And then something I thought would be a little interesting, you guys might riff on this a little bit, is one of the next most viewed posts was Season 4 Conquest and Power Creep. And basically, I did an article about how you could see the power creep that developers were planning on the game occurring by how much higher the conquests were for Season 4, GR60 solo, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, nobody had ever done a GR60 solo before we had Kanai's Cube. I don't think so. Or if they had, it was like one person ever. And then suddenly it's like, okay, this is now the new, this is the new, orange is the new black, right? It's like, this is the new standard.
Yeah. I know.
And obviously you've been playing Season 4 for the last, 7 months here. Are you accustomed? Can you remember back when like GR45 was high?
Yes, no, I absolutely can. That's what I was thinking about that when I was hearing the podcast the same way. Like, it's weird because it's weird to think that like I remember when the first patch hit and the first season started, I was aiming for Firebirds and I cleared I think a 43 and was in the top 100 in the world. Like. Now 43 isn't even like that's leveling gems now. Like that's easy, I do think that the 60 was a bit high because of what Empty One said. I mean, like the seasonal journey is not the design on it is a little wonky, right? It's something that is obviously designed for casual players. That's designed to kind of hold your hand and show you what you need to do at the start of a season to kind of progress your character and to show that you're making that progress. But then as it progresses, those like little portrait frames, all those little like little doodads, it gets harder and harder until you get to where you have to clear a grade of 60. Well, most of those people that need that hand holding are going to use that UI won't hit that 60, if that makes any sense. So it's kind of like it meets two purposes that Seasonal Journey does, and I think that they got it a little too high. I think that 50 would have been a little bit better for what they were aiming for that to do. And then obviously next season, now 60 doesn't seem that hard. If you've followed any of the changes and stuff, like most classes are well above 60.
Yeah, the damage increases on a lot of the gear, just they just try to even things out at the top end, which was something they needed to do maybe sooner if they wanted to have that requirement.
Right. Exactly. So if it was 50, could you have done 50 this season? Pretty easy,
oh yeah,
right?
I ran 56 was my highest, and I was doing a 57 and procced like 2 minutes into it and went, fuck this, I'm leaving.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, right? That's the other thing about this is this is the first season with the Seasonal Journey. So just like the first season was, there's a lot of things that are going to evolve and change, and they're going to learn like kind of better ways to do things. And that was probably one part that fell a little short this season. Because I mean, like when you play as much as I do, and you're still at the end of all these months playing this season, you're still going, oh god, I still have to do a couple of these things. And I'm like one of the people that plays all the time. I can't imagine somebody who only plays like an hour or so a day or a week.
Initially Season Journey was maybe too easy the first time they did it, and people were like, you get the ice dog just like for falling out of bed, graduating kindergarten.
Right.
That's the same Seasonal Journey. Like, oh, you mean just the beginning of the journey?
Yeah,
the first few pages are so easy, and then it gets to this like, okay, here's something only 20 people have even done.
Exactly, yeah, and that's my point, right? Like it seems like they either didn't guess the right power level for all the classes, which is probably the most likely reason for that, or they just were confused on where they were going with it. And I think that this season will be much better. I know that on the PTR, when I did the season, like when they started the season 6, I started a fresh character and did it, and it felt really, really good. It felt a lot better, and it didn't feel like it was out of reach.
Yeah, one really nice thing they're doing as they're moving the end game up further, I really like the fact they're giving a set away to people because of the fact that really sets are how you play the game now. It all revolves around a certain set, and Legacy of Nightmares is an attempt to not do that, but you literally are struggling to do anything, and then all of a sudden you have your set and you can actually play the game. I
will let you know how I feel about that once I'm a week into the season. I need to see it first because on the PTR it felt just fine, but every class is getting the same set, right? They're getting, like, if you play a wizard, you get the Firebird set from it. Well, Firebird set is the set they just revamped, and that's awesome. That is not the set that's pushing the highest. That is not the set that is the top competing set. So I want to see if it really even makes a difference, because I was worried about that. Like, okay, well, what if the set they choose for your seasonal journey isn't the set that you're going to be pushing with, and the first time they do it with the wizard is going to be that way. So
yeah, I don't know if it necessarily has to be the end game set for you. Just something to allow you to be playing.
Well, then it doesn't feel like it has
efficiently.
A point. I feel like it doesn't have a point. Like not because you should be able to take that set and just be doing the end game, but I feel like if you're putting in one set for the seasonal journey for a class, that is basically implying that, hey, so this season your focus is this set because that is your reward for doing the season. So it feels like if that's the case, that it should be at least slightly outperforming the other sets. Because why make that the reward when there's better that you can find and you'll probably find before you even get those rewards? I
think the goal is to make you try different things as you're gearing up. I see it as a transitional thing. Like this set, I'm actually planning on maining this Firebird set with my wizard. I love the idea of, like I said, having.
Oh no, yeah, it's amazing. But it's amazing, and that's when they started the design iteration. That's where it was. It was at the top. But with the changes that they've done, Delstairs is now outperforming that, like vastly. So now it comes to okay, so we're going to get Firebird set, and that's awesome, and it's still a really, really good set. Like, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But it feels confusing when you build the whole set. You revamp it for this season, you change it with this patch, you put it in as a reward for the seasonal journey, and then Delstairs, which is a completely different class set that was from a different patch in a different season, is actually doing better than that. Shouldn't Delstairs be the one? I mean, because they both got changes.
Right.
So it's really interesting that they chose. originally when Firebirds was tops, it made sense to me, and now that it's not, it's kind of like, well, now this kind of doesn't make any sense.
Do you think they'll make any other changes to those channeling items? Because I know that's what made it so powerful. I mean,
well, they already did. The Death
but
Wish
I mean, do you think they'll do
smashed.
any more beyond that? Because now it is underperforming in comparison to some of the other sets.
Not before the change. I think that maybe next patch, yeah, but I think that for this season they've got it set, I believe, and that's kind of a bummer because the Etch Sigil Death Wish build was probably the coolest damn build Wizards ever had. Like, you want to talk about ultra badass? Of course, it would destroy everyone's computers, but it was amazing. Did you see that build at all?
So the Etch Sigil is the one that casts your spenders when you're channeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Death Wish increases all damage when you are channeling.
Right, by like 100. It was 100% originally. Now it's like 30%.
Yeah, that's my plan to build. Still, it's just not. It's just not going to be the most powerful thing out there, which is kind of disappointing.
I mean, you'll still clear 70s and stuff. You just won't be able to compete with it. That's it.
And I never could because I don't have the time to compete.
Right, and it's super fun. But yeah, basically for those playing the home game, another wizard soliloquy. But the Etch Sigil made it to where, like, those are the powers you're saying. So you'd basically be casting, Disintegrate or Arcane Torrent, and while you're doing it, your wizard is spewing out, tornadoes or arcane orbs or frozen orbs or blizzards or whatever.
Meteor.
Yeah, and it's just like, and then if you stack the set with that, the damage was ridiculous. So you just teleport in the middle of a room, shoot a giant laser out, and just tornadoes pour out of your wizard. And it destroys everything. It was really cool and a really different build, and you felt like a wizard. You were using all these different spells and abilities. It was really cool, but they nerfed it. They didn't nerf it. They brought it into line, and they'll probably buff it again later because it was really cool. But right now, I don't think that's the route they wanted the Wizard to go for this season.
Why does Blizzard hate wizards?
I don't think they do. Again, I don't think they do. I think wizards are hard to kind of get in line because we have so many different mechanics that other classes don't use and different multipliers and the lack of multipliers that it's interesting how they try to, when they go to buff a set for a barb, it's usually just changing numbers and changing stuff like that. With the wizard, they're changing complete mechanics most of the time. And it's really, really interesting, but it's fun to play and it's fun to kind of see the evolution of it from vanilla to now.
Isn't that because barbarians are such simple creatures they can't deal with major changes?
No, I think it's just because the design of their sets were easier because they just were numbers,
Because barbarian players can't deal with complicated game mechanics. They just want to smash things right in front of them, right?
Totally.
Whereas wizards are really smart and you can do all this multi-channeling
stuff. Didn't Jay Wilson play a barb?
Well, that was the implied underlying context of my argument. So a couple of other things in July. PTR testing the Bandit Shrine. I'm like, oh yeah, that was new.
Oh yeah.
Also, Diabolic Hordes. Remember when those didn't exist?
Yep.
No, I
can recall testing those on the PTR, and of course when they came in, when we had that massive 2,000% legendary drop buff on PTR, and every one of those was 14 legendary items. So it was oh, this is pretty easy. We're how's it going to be in the final game? It's who the hell knows, man?
Yeah.
One other sad thing from July, Bashiok says goodbye to Blizzard.
So sad.
Yeah.
That's when he went away.
I don't know, man. He was just speaking his mind. I think they should be able to speak their minds, but
well, he wasn't fired. He just quit.
Right.
But
I'm just saying all the hate that he gets. I'm not a huge Bashiok supporter, but wouldn't you get frustrated dealing with that every day?
God, yes.
That's why I don't work there.
God, yes. Gamers are the worst. People don't realize it because we are them, but man,
yeah, exactly.
we are the worst group of people to have to deal with.
So Flux asked me to write down some New Year's resolutions, and he said maybe personal, community, and development team. And my community one was to tone down the whining a little bit. And I know I already spent some time on this podcast whining, but I see so much of it. Here's a focused good thing. People are unhappy with the amount of botting. But if you go on the forums, all these posts are just whining about various things. It's how can you expect to get your voice heard and have developers who actually want to work towards making the best game for you when you just complain about everything? I'm pretty happy with the game.
I think you need to leave the internet about 5 years ago because you're out of luck now.
Look, I paid $120 or whatever for this game between the expansion and this, and I've gotten hundreds of hours of entertainment out of it. It's still fun to pick up and play. They're still working on it. How can I complain?
You'll find a way. One other thing from June. toward the end of the month on the PTR, there was an issue when after they turned off the legendary drop buff rate, they were still much higher legendary drop rates than usual.
Yeah, it was buggy.
And this stood out in my memory because that's one of the last things that I was like personally involved with when I was playing a whole bunch on the PTR. Because I was like playing a bunch on the PTR and writing articles about it. And Blizzard kept saying, no, the buff rates are the same, there's no bugs. And I'm like, that's bullshit. There's like 5 times the legendaries dropping on the PTR than there is on the regular. And finally, like 2 weeks later, they realized they posted, yeah, there was a bug, and it was like, I forget what it was. It was the greater rift drop rate was applying to everything, and like multiplicative somehow or something. But I just remember that I'm like, this was the end of July. That was the last time I really had time to play this video game. That is so sad.
It's unfortunate.
Everybody pour out some 40 for your shorty.
I got you.
Okay, August. August, we get the typical thing, biggest news post. Season 4, Fast Leveling Guide, blah, blah, blah. Patch 2.3, Tournament Difficulty, Undocumented Buffs, etc., etc. And then one of the interesting tidbits, one of the second most viewed post we had that month, actually, was Malthael's Phantom, Diablo 3 Mount, HOTS Season 4 Reward. So we started seeing earlier in the year the Heart of the Swarm. No, what's the other game? Heroes of the Storm.
Right.
Why do they have 2 games called HOTS? Seriously. Is it that hard to think of another acronym?
Yeah.
Especially,
I realize every Blizzard title has to have of the in the middle of it, but still. Or sometimes just of.
Yeah.
The new Warcraft expansion is just called Legion.
Wait a second. Legion of Doom?
Legion of Warcraft.
Legion of Warcraft.
Liege of the Ion, something like that. Leg of the Ion, that'd be pretty good.
I'd play it.
Anyway, that's people are actually looking at those news posts and not just to write angry comments about them, probably. The countdown to disappointment began towards the end of the month when I did a post about how Blizzard's media invites for BlizzCon included Diablo 3 websites. Everyone said, hey, they're inviting us to BlizzCon. It must be a big deal. We'll get an expansion for sure this time.
Yeah.
Sure.
Hey, we all. I think the majority of us believe that. But
I wanted to.
But it's not their fault. They did their best to not make it seem like we were going to get anything, which made us think even more we were going to get something.
Yes. Because they lie. Literally the next most viewed post. Data mined Murloc Goblin Sea Monsters, Scovos. Hints of BlizzCon?
Scovos time.
Disappointment continues. And then toward the end of the month, they announced the ending of Season 3 and the start of Season 4. We just mentioned this a few minutes ago. Ended on August 23rd, and S4 started on the 28th. And now we have a 2-week break. And you guys both seem to like the longer break this time.
I'm fine with it.
Thanks for taking that one and running with it.
I apologize.
Thanks for jumping in there, nerd words.
I'm not one of those people that plays the season super, super hard. So I understand that it's there to help those people who do put a ton of time into seasons. But I kind of like it just because of the fact that it gives people a chance to play another game if really they want to focus on those seasonal times.
Right, exactly. And I mean, for most of us, especially like those of us that have been covering it and doing all this stuff for such a long time, like it's unreasonable to think we don't play other things too. So it's like I said, I always play Diablo, I've always considered myself a casual gamer elsewhere, but with Diablo, I just play it way too much to be considered casual, I guess. But I don't know, I still kind of am a filthy casual when it comes to it. But I love the break. I'm loving the break. It just kind of feels. It's not like I really ever needed to feel like I needed a break, but now that I have it, it's really, really nice, so I'll take it. And they should definitely keep doing it this way.
I'm sure they will take that into consideration. Should that be one of their resolutions?
It should be.
I'd be more than happy for the patch to come out on Tuesday instead of...
Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to say, though, is that it would also be cool, though, if when they released it, they dropped the patch so that you could jump in if you wanted to, because I kind of now want to jump in and mess with the patch as much as I'm talking about loving the break.
Remember back before seasons started, we used to make all those jokes about how Blizzard wouldn't know when seasons were supposed to end because they're in Southern California and there's only one season a year.
You just experienced that.
Isn't it sad that's still true, like 2 years later?
A little bit.
The seasons are always different lengths. They don't know how long it is between seasons. It's like sometimes it's 5 days, sometimes it's 2 weeks. And they keep saying next year it's going to be, like 3 months every season? They're going to kind of uniform this a little bit?
Yeah.
Do you believe them?
A little bit. Let
me clarify that. I believe that they're saying that in honesty. Do you think it'll actually happen?
No. Not.
There you go.
No.
Then we're in agreement.
I don't think it'll be, not 100%. It'll be closer probably, but I still feel like it'll have, there'll be some because I mean, just mathematically speaking, like it won't work out to be 3-month seasons unless you do, those breaks like consistently the same every time. And I don't think that they will because of pay cycles and their vacations and holidays and all that stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things that factor into release dates for patches and content.
Right. They've said that it's still going to somewhat be based on their development cycle for the patches.
Right.
Because they're not going. They realized how bad of a decision it was to release that patch mid-season that one time.
Right.
So now they're trying to do about 4 of them a year.
What I was going to say too is that like if they did, then they would say, okay, so January 15th is season 6, right? So that means that April 15th would be season 7, and then July or August, so they could go ahead and be like, okay, so these are, but there's no way, right? There's just no way. Like there's no way it's going to be that consistent. It'll be close, but it won't be that consistent.
If you had to bet that the longest season next year would be over or under 4 months, what would you bet?
I would
Under.
bet under. I bet they learned that lesson. They had to have learned that lesson.
Actually,
you
know what? Because I was wrong about the expansion, I'm going to go ahead and say over so it doesn't happen.
Yeah, did it hurt when you guys fell off the turnip truck, or did you get over the pain? Because Blizzard never misses a schedule they announce in advance. How could that possibly? Of course, it'll be under 4 months.
I think it will.
The longest season next year will be 9.5 months. It'll be like your first wife's pregnancy.
Well, I mean, we've only had one season that was over that length, right? And that was the second season.
So far.
No, the third season.
So far, we've only had one that long. Yes.
Right. So, and I feel like
it'll only get worse from here.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. It depends on if they are doing and plan on announcing an expansion, because I feel like the longest season we'll have is between the expansion and then. If they
literally or figuratively the longest?
Literally.
Will it be the longest, or will it feel like the longest?
It'll both, probably.
I was noticing, we mentioned a minute ago, the last Season 3 ended on the 23rd of August, and the next one started on the 28th of August. Remember back when remember Gamescom was like the 26th, 27th, 28th of August, and we were all like thinking, there must be like some reason the season's ending right here.
Right.
They're going to announce like the expansion, and they want a new season to start then for no particular reason anybody can explain.
Mm-hmm.
Wah, wah, wah.
I was a little too spoiled by Fallout's announcement at E3. I was like, out of nowhere.
Okay, you're off the podcast.
But I mean, that's what I expected them to do. I thought they were going to be like, hey, you know what? 3 months from now, you're going to have your expansion. Didn't happen, unfortunately. Unfortunately, they don't really care what I want.
And it will never happen again. Okay, a couple of other things in September. BlizzCon, Blizzard Chat, Scovos, and Diablo 3 expansion hits? Question mark. Yes, question mark. There were a couple of other things in September also. Still thinking we were going to get an expansion. Teasing.
Hey, you're getting mermaids in this next piece of content. That's basically Scovos. How many lore people did I just piss off?
All of them. Both of them.
I'm crying.
Another interesting news thing in September, on the 10th news post, Blizzard investigating crippling multiplayer lag. Luckily, their investigation went fine, and they fixed that problem right afterwards.
Right.
We haven't heard about it since.
Yeah, no.
As a Witch Doctor player, I can attest the fact that they have not yet fixed that problem.
Well, it's only been 4.5 months, man. What do you want?
They had to keep their 3-month seasonal schedule going, so I can understand.
What if there was a DLC for bug fixing?
Oh, God.
Everybody cops up $50 will actually fix this bug. Otherwise, you guys can all burn in hell.
I think that's what most companies do. There was a game called Kingdoms of Amalur that was published by EA, and the development team put it out, and it was a pretty good game. And there were several major bugs, like game-breaking bugs. And they literally said on their website, we cannot fix these, we cannot patch until after our first DLC is out because of our contract with EA. What?
Bastard.
Isn't that sickening? And, of course, that company went bankrupt, unfortunately.
Who knew Bobby Kotick ran 2 different gaming studios at the same time? Okay, jumping ahead to October of 2015. My mother has a birthday in October, so it's always the best month. I bet you guys have really nice mothers, too.
We do.
Very
Everyone's
nice.
mom is the number one mom. Of course they are.
Oh, yeah?
Your mom's a really nice lady. And I saw that dirigible, and now I know her dildo was ready, too. Okay, anyway, moving on. The 5 most viewed posts for October have a somewhat similar theme. See if you guys can discern it. They were posted over about a 3-week period too. It wasn't like they were all one day or something like that. They were several days apart, each of them. Diablo 3 botter banned after streaming botting. Open letter on botting from Diablo community. Live stream botting 4 accounts at once. Vote Diablo 3's biggest current issues. What does Blizzard think of botting in D3? The answer, obviously, is all of these start with a question.
Right. Yeah, totally.
I don't see any thematic connection, any content connection of these. And you guys have any thoughts on that issue?
Only 1,000 that we've tackled about 10 billion times. But yeah, I obviously there still hasn't been any. I mean, there's been responses. They've spoken out about it, at least a little bit more now. But we still haven't had any sort of action. So I'm curious to see kind of how that evolves once we come into the new year. Maybe that should be a New Year's resolution as well. Seeing, if there is, well, I guess we'll see where the Paragon's at this season and how everything's going and see how it affects the game. And we'll go from there, but we'll see.
I think that's the key issue is the botting rewarding so much Paragon, and I do feel like maybe an interesting strategy to combat it to some extent, because obviously they've basically communicated they can't get rid of it by the fact that they're not doing it. Is just do something like limiting Paragon points that you get to apply before you do a Greater Rift run. So people who get to 800, that's as many points as you get to distribute for a Greater Rift. And then that puts people on a closer to equal playing field with those people who have infinite playtime. But of course they can't counteract all the gearing benefits and of course mat benefits and keys benefits that you get from botting.
What was your Paragon last season, MT1?
Only 554 or something like that. So I think
they should.
Like I said,
I
cap
it at like
560. Crazy amounts.
They should cap the Paragons for GRs at like 560.
No, I'm okay with it being 800. I think 800 was their original ending point anyway. So I don't feel like I have to be able to run at the highest level because I understand I don't put in as much time as some other people. But I do feel like people who play this game for 4 or 5 hours a day should be able to compete.
So you don't feel the game should be designed just for your particular need set? You want people to stop complaining. You really are new to the internet, aren't you?
I'm just waiting for my check from Blizzard. Oh, wait. No.
Those come on usually the second Thursday of the month, so keep your eyes open. Speaking of disappointing, the next most viewed post in October... Join Blizzard at the Slaughtered Calf Inn at BlizzCon 2015, which actually turned out to be pretty cool from all the attendees, describing it. But just at the time we got the news, we were still kind of hoping for something a little bigger.
Well, it turned out to be really cool if you happen to be in attendance.
Right. If you were in attendance,
the vast majority of us were not,
and you cared very little about the other stuff going on, because you had to be there basically all the time, which is fine because I'm pretty much only a fan of this game as far as Blizzard goes, but. That was just a kind of an odd way to do it instead of, having them do the talks a couple of times or maybe just film it initially. But I guess sound would have been an issue, so it's good that they're releasing them now.
On to November, which actually was when BlizzCon occurred. And oddly enough, there are no BlizzCon news posts in the top 20 most viewed of November.
Because they didn't announce anything.
Yeah, there was not. Yeah, exactly. That was the sad truth, right? I mean, every other year, I'm sure we've had I haven't gone back and looked at every year in the past, but we usually had 20 news posts about BlizzCon, and they were getting massive views, and here's live blogging the panel, exclusive interview, blah blah blah, all this kind of stuff. New announcement. This year it was nothing. The most viewed BlizzCon post was a video interview with Josh Mosquera. So. Just some random, GameSpot or whoever posted it. So that was the most viewed BlizzCon anything. And everything else was Overwatch time. All the most viewed items in November were, as you might guess,
botting.
Legacy of Nightmares Mega Buff and Patch 2.4. Blizzard's official Patch 2.4 preview. Patch 2.4 details on the panel and video, PTR and a sequel, all that kind of stuff.
That sounds good in as opposed to the botting that I assumed it was about.
There was no. Yeah, botting pretty much was the big thing in October for whatever reason.
When it basically just shows the psyche of the community, right? We were all so bummed about there not being as much BlizzCon news whenever they announced the schedule and everything that we lost sight of the fact that this patch is freaking huge and there's so much cool stuff in it. So it was nice to see a little bit of hope for us.
Yeah.
We also had one of the most commented posts of the month was Set Dungeons Non-Permanent Hardcore Death. We always joke about this. Well, I always joke about this. Whenever there's any kind of vote about should something cause permanent hardcore death, like PvP or Set Dungeons or whatever, the poll and the comments are always overwhelmed by people who, A, don't play hardcore, and B, want all hardcore characters to die forever.
Yeah.
And C, don't care that these facts, in theory, are in opposition. So, as a filthy casual softcore player, Nerdwatch, do you want hardcore players to die forever?
No. No, I don't. Not necessarily. I love the the community in hardcore, and a lot of the player base. A lot of the people I am mostly friends with in Diablo play hardcore, and I played a lot of hardcore in Diablo 2. I just don't want to in Diablo 3. So that's about it.
Aren't hardcore players elitist scum that deserve what they get?
Not at all. In fact, most of the people that play hardcore, I would actually say are not. Like, I would say that more of the elite players play softcore. Now, mind you, most of the
self-titled elite players, I would say.
Well, a lot of people that affect the community, the massive amount of casual community, at least. I mean, like, think about it like this, like
the influencers for sure.
Right, exactly. Like the hardcore community, like, I don't know. There's a lot of people that play hardcore, but a lot of people that play hardcore are from the Diablo 2 community. Whereas Diablo 3 community and a lot of the streamers and stuff are a whole new batch of people. Most of them, a lot of them. And weren't people that played Diablo 2 as much. So you see like the difference and most people that came from Diablo 2 played in Diablo 3, or most of the people that were touched by Flux's influence in the last couple of years, one of the two, at least.
That's what my parole officer said, too.
Right.
He said, you gotta stop touching them with your influence.
I'll tell you what, that voice right now.
Tainting them.
Changing myself with my voice right now. Also in November, Grimiku went away, one of the Diablo 3 community managers, and the new guy was announced as a new community manager. So you guys were saying you wanted some turnover and fresh faces. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, we just need to. I mean, it's holiday time, so vacations and stuff. But now that we're in the first year, let's get some conversation going. Let's see what's going on with the game.
The December review seems almost pointless because it ended like 3 days ago, but the most viewed posts were all about Season 5, gets a start date, Blizzard preview Season 5, patch 2.40 items and sets preview, patch 2.4 updated PTR patch notes, blah, blah, blah. One thing that was a little bit more interesting, which I posted, that was probably a bad intro, a little immodest, right? Anyway, while I was on vacation, my dad actually gets the LA Times, living in San Diego, because the San Diego paper is basically extinct. And he grabbed an article for me from the business section and said, "Oh, look, there's an article about that gaming company you were working on that website about. That's about as deep as my parents' understanding of my nocturnal activities sinks." They're like, "Is this the game you work on?" And it was all about how Blizzard turned Titan's failure into Overwatch's success.
Right.
And so I actually read that in the print edition of a newspaper. They actually have these things that come to your house in the morning when you're old, and it's like words on a piece of paper. It's really weird to think about that way. It's like not a computer. You can't click on the links or anything. But that's how news used to be transferred, like mostly by carrier pigeons, I believe. And then I went online, and of course it's actually on the LA Times website, and I was able to click and copy major chunks of that without attribution. Okay, with attribution, and put that on the website for everyone to read. And that had one of the more commented posts of the month, and it was all about how Blizzard learned from the failure of Titan and how they're having better. The Overwatch, came from its ashes without giving us any details about that, which I'll say more on in a second. But it was all about, better communication between the, internally in the company and having better strike teams and putting the QA guys in all the meetings. And it kind of seemed like a blueprint for future integration of better quick testing and changing through testing while they're making a game. That was horribly said, but I'm kind of losing at this point. But obviously, Diablo 3, we saw. As soon as it was released, the original classic version, a ton of changes had to be, rushed into patching.
Right.
And you kind of wonder if they'd had a better, if the QA had maybe seen more of this. I certainly remember the fans, we were all saying for months that these unique items are horrible.
Yeah.
You need much
they
better
are
unique.
Just
they're just
higher
rare
stats.
stats.
And that's kind of what the damage increases are. When it comes to the legendaries now. They're basically...
And they're vastly better than they used to be. But, Blizzard just kept saying, oh, no, we have better ones. The website's not updated yet. And then the game launched, and they all still sucked. So you kind of wonder if they can maybe avoid that kind of thing in the future with a little bit better QA integration or something.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, I think it's good to have kind of a committee of people involved. Whenever they let one person make all the decisions, It just doesn't turn out very well. And so when they have a group of people talking and maybe even involve use the CMs to get information from the community and actually implement that. And they do sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. The article, when I did that news post about the Titan thing, I kind of mentioned at the end, there's nothing in this article about, how they actually took the assets of Titan and made them into Overwatch. And I said this is from the financial section, so it's all about the company and how they didn't fire anybody and how they kind of let the same guy who was heading up Titan head up Overwatch. Kind of thinking at that point, I haven't followed Overwatch closely in the last month. They probably posted some huge article about how, what Titan was going to be and how we changed all of this and how the character models were modified or whatever. And then everybody in comments was like, yeah, I would like to see that article too. So apparently there still hasn't been, you guys follow more gaming news than me in the last few months. They've still never really talked about what Titan was going to be and how it turned into Overwatch?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of, no.
I mean, it was obvious though, right? I mean, think about when I saw the unveil for Overwatch, I went, oh, okay, this is Titan. Not because it had, I knew that all the reports of Titan was that the game was very similar to Destiny. That it was a first-person shooter, action RPG, online, whatever. And so, Destiny comes out, has all the success, but, Blizzard, as much as they are really good at taking things from other things and inspiring things from other games, they don't just blatantly rip things off typically, but, so obviously they shelled the game down and made it an arena shooter. So, I mean, it wasn't a stretch from my imagination. In fact, when I saw the announcement, we were at Blizzcon that year, and that was my first guess. Now, my brother and friend that I was with both said I was retarded. They were like, "You're ridiculous. There's no way." But I mean, it made sense to me, I guess. How would they have that many all those assets and all these things they've been working on for years and years and years and not try to use them at least? I know it happens all the time,
right?
It's just, I don't know. It just made sense to me.
I think it makes sense for them to use mechanics from the game, use the engine if possible, use character models, stuff like that for sure.
Right.
But they definitely had to rework the way the world will work completely between a shooting game that is not open world and one that would be massively multiplayer open world. Right,
exactly. But think about the amount of development time you shave off by changing it to that format,
Yeah, all they've said in that article and other places is that Titan just wasn't fun. They've never really said why it wasn't fun or what wasn't fun about it or why they couldn't salvage it or change it. They just said it wasn't fun, so we reworked it. But we really have no idea how much it's been reworked because we don't know what Titan was going to be. And we had lots of leaks over the time that it was going to be like integrate a lot of social media stuff. If that was that, we heard that back years and years ago, but who knows if that was actually real. But it was going to be this whole integration of your Facebook and stuff. It was going to be that would be part of the game somehow, like professions and stuff.
Yeah.
And there were some big leaks after they announced that it was canceled. People were saying it was going to be it was going to be one of those farming games on Facebook at the same time it was a real game on your computer. So when you weren't playing on your computer, you'd be doing social media stuff and Facebook sharing it and things.
Yeah.
Suddenly it's plants. Suddenly it's zombies versus sunflowers or something. You think, what? But I mean, who knows if that was the case? But it seems like there's nothing of that at all. Overwatch is this totally stripped down console style, fast paced.
That I think most people, when we saw it, we assumed it was a free to play game, and then they were like, "No, this is a full box title." It's like, what? Yeah, it was a little bit surprising.
Shut up and take our money, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to playing if it is fun, but it really looks to me almost like what MOBAs are, just with a shooter. One thing that's kind of interesting about that integrated world with the real world thing is several games are trying to do that right now. Bungie did it pretty horribly with their Destiny app, but on your phone you can move your items from character to character to your your stash or whatever. Fallout allows you to use your Pip-Boy on your phone. I mean, lots of big AAA companies are working on trying to involve the real world with the game, just so people are even more connected.
The whole market is in general coming from the retail side of it. I mean, every single console now has the ability to instantly tweet the video of the sweet headshot you just got, or instantly post to Facebook a video of a touchdown pass you threw in Madden. I mean, literally, there's a share button on the PlayStation controller. So it's really not that much of a stretch. I mean, it sounded a little weirder probably originally, but now, like, that's like, well, duh, that's the future of where everything else is going anyway, you know?
God, I feel old.
If gamers want to do viral marketing for you, make it easy for them to do, right?
The best part about it that you see with the social media stuff being incorporated is, like, you know, I've been playing a lot of Rainbow Six lately because it just came out and it's super fun. I'm a big fan of the old school Tom Clancy games. And, like, you know, there's a lot of bugs and stuff, and that happens with a lot of games when they release. But with this, you can, like, literally record a video or take a screenshot of these bugs and post them online, and they're super funny. And it's stuff that you wouldn't see. I mean, think about, you know, Contra and, like, all the games you grew up with and that we all grew up with. If you could screenshot all the little nuances you found in the game that, you know, that other people might not know were there or that they're also experiencing. It's the connection of everything to everything, and it just makes sense that it's attached into games because games are run by consoles, by GPUs, by PCs. So it only makes sense that the world that has built is now meeting with the gaming world too.
And everybody's online with their consoles, of course.
Exactly. I mean, yeah,
right,
most
it's
games
mandatory
are online only.
now.
Yeah, and that's the struggle that I have out here is because as much as I love gaming, if it's online only, I'm pretty screwed because I don't have very good internet at all because it's hardwired to my PC. So.
Yeah, I get comments from people on Xbox Live, which is, I guess, my main gaming platform, although I did buy a computer just for this game. All the time, like, why didn't you make any comments on my video? Or, like, I haven't seen you post anything.
Yeah.
I don't get on to do that stuff. I get on to play the game, and I'm perfectly happy being in a party chat and talking to people while I'm playing. But
right.
I don't
want
to waste my time scrolling through a bunch of photos of what other people did in their game. It's the same thing with streamers. I can't watch streamers. Some people love it. It's like, I
can't do it
care what they're doing.
Well, it depends, actually. There are things, like, I'll watch, like, a live stream of a podcast, or I'll watch, like, you know, I'll watch a certain event, like I watched the Diablo 2 leveling event one time while I was playing Diablo 3.
Okay, yeah,
that's
like different. But I'll totally run a podcast, or maybe even, like, some Hearthstone video or whatever, which is a game that I play on my phone and enjoy. But, you know, I could run something like that while I'm doing something else. Do the dishes, totally. Have something running. But, like, I'm not going to sit there and dedicate myself to watching someone else play a video game during my limited free time.
I completely understand that, though. Dude, I will say, though, that, like, the one thing I do like about it, because, like, I'm the same way, like, I'll, like, you know, if something cool happens in a game, like, I have an Xbox One, so I can just, you know, yell at my TV and it'll record a shot for me, which is pretty cool. And I can upload it really, really easily. But what I usually do is I just do it for myself, and, like, I just, like, have these, like, stupid little videos of just stupid. I mean, like you said, you're an achievement whore. I'm an achievement whore. These little things we do in games are fun sometimes, and it's cool to, like, kind of collect these little things. But the cool part about it is, like, I don't use, like, Facebook and stuff like that. Like, I use Twitter for pretty much all my social media stuff, but if you check it, I, like, never post anything because I'm really, really bad about remembering that the world exists. But with, you know, if I'm at work, you know, most people, like, they pull up their Facebook feed, they pull up their Twitter feed. I'll pull up my Xbox One Smart Glass app, and I'll just see what people are doing online, because I'd much rather watch a 10-second clip of some dude, like, force pushing a dude in Star Wars Battlefront into a TIE fighter than, you know, read about someone's racist comments about what's going on in the news right now.
See, I can see the value in that, you know, couple of spare minutes or whatever somewhere.
Yeah, but like you, I'm the same way. I don't integrate it as much. But I do think, I mean, it's pretty cool. Some of the stuff is pretty neat. And I mean, a lot of stuff like you're talking about Fallout 4, like I play, again, because I'm a huge nerd and play everything, NBA 2K a lot. And the NBA 2K app allows you to, like, pick and win on games. So if there's any live NBA games going on that day, you can pick which games you think are going to be the winner. And if you actually get it right, you get points that you can use in the game to upgrade your character and stuff, like 50 points per that you get it right. So it's just like, it's just little cool, stupid things that don't really matter, but they keep you engaged with the game and the community, and I think it's cool. And it'd be really awesome to see if Diablo came out with something like that. Like, not like an app like that, but even like, what if you could manage your stash space from a cell phone app? That would be cool.
Yeah, what if we just had the inventory management we used to during the auction house existence? Like
or more easily interactable mobile armory. Like, there's armories that exist, but what if Blizzard actually did one of their own for Diablo, where you could view character sheets or leaderboards and stuff like that? Like, that'd be pretty cool, right?
Yeah,
and
I would love
a way to show it off
like
to people
that, but
at work or at home.
I guess it really has to be profitable for them to invest the money to do that.
Well, and it depends on, you know, and that's so much development time and stuff to work. That's probably something they would do it for the launch of a game, not a game that's already 3 years old.
Although
Yeah,
if their microtransaction is pulling enough money overseas, they might just change the whole model.
I think we all assumed that eventually the auction house was going to be, totally accessible over your smartphone or whatever, right?
Yeah, which would
that seemed like the end game for Diablo 3, mobile media. And obviously we don't have an auction house anymore, so.
Yeah.
So they're no longer motivated to put the effort into it.
Yes. Also, when you mentioned live streaming a podcast, I was like, thank God this one's not on live. Because I look like your avatar in Castle Wolfenstein with about 20% of health points right now. And I'm hitting for like 5% health. I'm like leaning over sideways with my eyes closed, and I'm like blowing my nose every time one of you guys talk. It's a fucking disaster.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm not.
This will be the lowest rated show ever.
I'm not as sick as you, but I'm feeling pretty awful myself. So it's like the holiday season is finally winding down, and my body's like, okay, you're allowed to get sick now, because I've been healthy, thankfully, for the last couple of months, no problem. But now that like the stress time is coming to an end, it's like, okay, now you can just die. So
just stay off of airplanes. I was fine.
I don't plan on getting on one for a while, not till March. So.
And that's when Blizzcon will be, right? Oh wait. Okay, that's it for my December year in review stuff. Do you guys have any final thoughts about
It'd be great if Blizzard really put an emphasis on that, letting people make their own choices on how they want to play, excluding bots.
And I think that the Legacy Nightmares is kind of working towards that for sure. I think it's a good starter point, right? And they can only just add more stuff. But yeah, I completely agree. I think it's something that's been the illusion of being in the game for a long time. It's never really been there. I mean, we've always kind of felt like, oh, we have this choice, but it's a limited choice between 2 or 3 different.
I feel the closest it was when they first nerfed Inferno down. Like, of course you couldn't do it in the original Inferno, but when they first nerfed Inferno down, you could kind of play with whatever cooldown skill you wanted to do massive damage and whatever generator and whatever damage dealer. But now they just have it designed where you have to play a certain way in order to be successful, and that's a little annoying to me.
Well, I think that more so the problem there is that what deems it successful, and that's different based on each individual person.
That's a great point. And to me, successful is fun, except for the fact when there's a portrait frame that I literally can't get because I just am not able to accomplish it.
Dude, I feel you on that for real. Like, I was literally had that thought when I was doing the end of the season. I was like, man, if I don't get this, I'm gonna feel like a piece of crap, and it's gonna bother me for like ever.
Thank you.
And
Thanks
it's just
support.
It's just a stupid portrait, but I'm totally with you. I back you. I'm here for you, man.
Yeah, I would just think about that. But other than that, pretty happy with the game. I'm glad that they're continuing to support it, and I look forward to basically any news they want to give us about what's coming up.
Yeah, same. I'm super ready for the new season. I'm very excited, very, very excited. I'm ready. I want to play the new patch so bad. I just wanted to give it to me now. But yeah, definitely plan on hitting the season really, really hard, and all that stuff.
Here's a feature I love that you guys probably don't care about at all. And most people clearly don't because they're all outraged that small development time was wasted on it. The seasonal rebirth. I feel so bad about deleting my characters. So I've intentionally had to kill a hardcore character every time before I could run my hardcore season. And now since I'm going to core, I'm like, do I really want to delete someone who I have 150 hours on or whatever? And all it is a number next to the character, but for some reason I don't care.
But it's the same one.
That's exactly right. I've had them since launch.
Even though all their gear and all their stats and everything else reset.
Yeah, exactly. And you can change them whenever you want them to be changed. They're not really a character. They're just a clothing rack, but whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I never play them. Yeah, it's the same with me. The only character I don't want to delete is my vanilla wizard. But I have... Yeah, it doesn't bother me at this point. The seasonal rebirth thing doesn't really affect me as much, but I'm the guy that plays the one class.
Yeah, so I have every class at 70 and have had every class at 60 since launch and have enjoyed playing them all. And it would bother me to delete my characters that I've had for 3 years, even though they really mean nothing.
Pointless. Yeah, right.
Well, of course, the Nerdwords character lobby looks like the Gryffindor common one. So
it does.
It's the
They're
choosing
all
hat.
Varying degrees of female wizards and varying degrees of gear.
Do you have any Hermione's in there? She's everyone's favorite.
I usually just bounce between 3 names, and none of them are Harry Potter related.
Thank God.
One of them is actually a male wizard on the end of the list, but we've determined...
Yeah, that's actually my vanilla wizard. The reason that male wizards don't exist is because I played one for almost 2,000 hours.
Oh, there you go.
All of vanilla
I think both.
No.
I think that's a class where both the male and the female characters they did a good job with. I think it might be the only one.
His gear sets just look dumb. Like, he just doesn't look right in any of the gear, whereas the female wizard does.
I think he looks bad. I got him in like a burning looking cloak and stuff. Not
Put him in Delstairs and tell me that set was made for the male wizard.
Oh gosh, that one looks horrible.
Put him in Firebirds and tell me it was made for
Think about
none
the
of those ornamental hats. None of those ornamental hats and stuff. Like, none of the sets were designed with the male wizard in mind, so I don't play the male wizard. Because it looks weird.
Yeah. I do have to admit that there are definitely some outfits you could not wear on the male wizard.
I mean, yeah, the Veers looks okay, but like Talrosh's, Delsair's, I mean Delsair's especially, like they changed the belly button thing, but that was, oh god.
But they did it on the female and the male. Like they covered.
Flux, you remember that, right? The slutty like steampunk set from Blizzcon.
I remember you were going to do an article about that with screenshots, and you never did.
Yeah, I never did because they changed.
That's why I let you go to BlizzCon this year.
They changed it. They covered up her navel. They made it.
We were going to document that for people who don't play Wizards, but they're just dirty casuals who don't play Wizards. So they don't deserve to know.
Yeah, you guys need to get on this Wizard 3. It's way better than Diablo 3.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, guys, thanks for your time. You've listened to the Diablo 3 podcast. We are online at diabloii.net. And what does the Cow King say?
Moo? Does he say moo? Oh.
Moo. Moo. Okay.
You have like a bellowing mew.